Samsung and Sonos have produced two of the most popular soundbars on the market, but which one is right for you? The Samsung Q990B or Sonos Arc? Hey team, I'm Josh. In this video we'll break down where each of these soundbars shine over the other and which should make it into your entertainment setup. I've created individual reviews for both of these soundbars and a sound test file that you can purchase, which I'll link to down in the description. Anyway, let's get to it. The Sonos Arc has been out since June of 2020 and over that time has had many updates to tweak the usability and overall performance. The full bundle comprises of the Sonos Arc at $899, Sonos Sub for $749 and a pair of Sonos One SLs at $398, coming to a total of $2,046. Samsung released the Q990B in July of 2022 and is a part of their yearly soundbar update. They've taken a different approach to Sonos in the way that they package their product. The Q990B comes as one complete package consisting of the main bar, side-firing sub and two rear speakers, combined into a single product that retails for $1899. Prices for these products vary wildly depending on where you live, and the Samsung will often go on sale, so check out the links in the description for up-to-date pricing. Unfortunately, Sonos increased their prices at the end of 2021 due to chip shortages and high demand for their products. They very rarely have sales on their products, but do have an upgrade program which will save you 15%, so take advantage of that if you can. Samsung, on the other hand, decreases its price incrementally during the year, and especially towards the end of the product cycle. Same as its predecessor, the Q990B has 11.1.4 channels compared to the 7.1.2 of the full Arc setup, which actually plays back as a 5.1.2 by dropping the side-firing drivers when the rear speakers are added. With all the soundbars I've tested, having the most channels doesn't automatically make a soundbar more spacious. It very much depends on how well the manufacturer has used those channels. I'll touch on this further in the sound quality section. Both soundbars are made from a mixture of premium plastic and a thin metal grille, so it really comes down to personal preference as to which looks better. The Samsung is wider and deeper than the Sonos, but Sonos is taller, which can be problematic for some TVs as it may block the bottom of the screen. This is especially the case for the LG OLEDs with their low profile bases. Pairing these soundbars with a TV 55 inches and larger would make the most sense due to their large size. Samsung has included more connection options. You get an HDMI eARC port, two HDMI inputs and an optical, whereas Sonos doesn't include any HDMI inputs and just has a single HDMI eARC and HDMI to optical cable. Having extra HDMI inputs may be important to you, especially if you max out the ports on your TV. Samsung allows for 4K pass-through, and that's a great way to get Dolby Atmos from devices such as an Apple TV or Xbox for TVs that don't have an eARC port. If you want to know more about how this works, then check out the video I've linked to in the description. Speaking of Atmos, both of these soundbars support full Dolby Atmos through the Dolby True HD format, with Samsung also supporting DTS:X, which is commonly found through the use of Blu-ray discs and is the direct competitor to Dolby Atmos. Sonos currently only supports standard DTS, which is often found in older DVDs. If you watch lots of Blu-rays that don't have any Dolby audio, then the Samsung will work better for you, as Sonos only supports DTS up to 5.1 channels. This may change in the future as Sonos updates its firmware, so check online for what's currently supported. Samsung has an LED screen on the front, and as I discussed in the full review, it's not of the highest quality, but does show you the info around volume, the input that's being used, and the audio format that's being played. Sonos has chosen a more stealth look with just a single multicolored LED to show you the status. On the top of the soundbars are a selection of buttons for changing volume, play and pause, as well as microphone mute. In Samsung's box, you'll get a very slick remote that allows you to control most of the soundbar functions, including power, input, sound modes, and channel levels. You'll also get wall mounts for the main bar, but not the rear speakers. You can, however, purchase generic brackets. Sonos doesn't have a remote and relies entirely on the S2 app. And to mount the Arc, or the Ones, you'll need to purchase their brackets separately. I normally split movies and music into their own sections, but after thoroughly testing both of these soundbars side by side with a range of songs and movie scenes, they're much closer than I thought. Last year's Q950A was quite a ways away from the powerfulness of the Sonos Arc, but this year's Q990B has closed that gap right up. Here's what I found. My father-in-law and I sat down to have a listen to both of these soundbars. We started with Kelly Jo Phelps' Doxology, which is an acoustic piece. It's very string heavy. And the Samsung was able to give us better detail than the Sonos. So being able to actually individually hear the strings, we found that Samsung was a little bit nicer. Where Sonos, on the other hand, was better at giving us a wider sound stage. So being able to individually place those sounds within the room was better on the Sonos. The vocals were a little bit more forward on the Sonos as well, so actually being able to project those sounds and receive them was better on the Sonos, and the bass was also better on the Sonos. Samsung wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but Sonos was able to give us a little bit more well-defined, tighter bass. I suppose that's one thing with speakers, is you want each individual set of frequencies, so low, medium and high, to be separated, and neither one to encroach on the other with volume. Sonos was able to give us more individualized frequencies, so listening to that bass, it didn't encroach and muddy the other frequencies, whereas Samsung wasn't as good at doing that. Again, very good on both ends, but Sonos was just slightly better in that area. When we listen to pretty much any other genre of music, you could go either way, essentially. They were both excellent. Again, Sonos slightly better with that bass, but we kind of just sat back and was like, to be honest, like we'd be happy with either of these. And especially if you're taking one of these home and you're not comparing it next to the other one, like I'm sure you'd be happy with either. When it came to the movies, both of them were excellent with Atmos, really being able to give you that full 360 experience. The height was awesome. I found that with the rear speakers, the Sonos was ever so slightly better, but again, you're nitpicking at that point, and the vocals on both were very good. I suppose it depends on what you're feeding these soundbars in the way of audio formats, and that's where that Samsung is able to give you more wider range of formats in the DTS space. But if you're using Dolby for most of your things, which most streaming services use, then both of these soundbars are excellent at giving you the full 360 sound, height, and the vocals are excellent on both. One thing I'd note is that Sonos has just done an update a couple of months ago, and it's really killed the amount of bass that you get, as well as the overall sound is a lot quieter. I think they've tried to boost the vocals, but in doing that, they've knocked everything else back. So as it stands, the Samsung does get a lot louder than the Sonos, and if I was to buy it to play at a party, you know, you want the most sound that you can get, then the Samsung definitely gets louder. But that may change in the future as firmware updates are added and they boost that sound, because it's not a lack of the ability of the actual speaker, but it's the firmware that's running. Choosing which soundbar to go for purely based on how it sounds comes down to a personal preference. So to help you guys out, I've created a sound test file which compares both of these soundbars side by side with a variety of songs and movies to give you an idea of the differences. There's a link in the description to where you can purchase that file, and I want to say thank you to anyone that does, as you're helping me get on board more soundbars to test and give you my honest opinion. Both of these soundbars offer a variety of smart features. They each have built-in Alexa, AirPlay 2, and Spotify Connect. Sonos adds Google Assistant in some countries, and Samsung includes Bluetooth and Chromecast audio. Sonos uses the S2 app, which gives you further control over an equalizer, subwoofer, height and rear speaker level, as well as connecting other speakers to set up a multi-room audio system. Samsung uses the SmartThings app, which gives you individual channel changing and is far more in depth than what Sonos allows for. As I discussed in my Samsung review, there seems to be a common issue where the rear speakers keep disconnecting. This is something that's plagued Samsung soundbars from the last few years and still continues. Sonos uses your existing Wi-Fi system to connect all the speakers, whereas Samsung seems to use a Bluetooth connection. If you go down the Sonos route, make sure you've got a good router and a strong signal throughout your house. Sonos's rear speakers can be individually tweaked in volume, whereas Samsung's is paired together. That only matters if you've got the two speakers at different distances from the main listener. Auto tuning is where these two differ. Sonos' TruePlay tuning is better as you get to move the microphone around, whereas Samsung uses the built-in microphone to pick up the sound rather than tuning it from where you're sitting. So where does that leave us? Which one should you buy? Well, here's the reasons to buy Sonos. You get tighter bass, slightly better vocals, multi-room audio, TruePlay tuning, a set and forget system, so disconnecting speakers don't happen very often, and a better designed app. Samsung has HDMI inputs. It doesn't favor a certain platform by including Bluetooth and Chromecast for those Android users. More control over individual channels, offers a wider range of DTS audio formats, more detailed sound, slightly lower so it's less likely to block your TV screen, and great sound for a much cheaper price. These speakers are at the top end of the soundbar market, and if you're thinking to yourself, well, I could build out a home theater system for the same kind of price and get better performance, well then do it. If that's an option to you, you're willing to put in the time and effort to get it set up properly, then go for it. But for the rest of us that prefer a more minimalistic setup, easy to use, and really good sound quality, then either of these soundbars are a great option and well worth putting your money into. With that, here are the individual reviews for both of these soundbars, and don't forget the sound test down below. Anyway, that's all from me. See you guys soon.